Hello, welcome. Hopefully this is going to work out. This is my new recording process using Screencast. What we're doing is we're recording vocab for week one. Hello, Indio students. This should be, well, I don't know if I'd say exciting exactly, but better than the usual. Now, the idea behind these vocab videos is that you can pause them to take notes. You can rewind if you didn't hear something I said, or you can listen to them over and over for practice as a mode of study, or just if you're lonely and want to hear my voice. All right, this week we have many exciting words. Oh no, already the problems. This week's words, we have ambidextrous, augment, deploy, GIBE, intimation, opulent, reiterate, stolid, tentative, and unkempt. We also have a bonus word. Every so often we're going to have bonus words outside of our usual 10 because these are going to be words that are good for knowing in an academic setting. And this week's academic word is assertion. Now first let's start with ambidextrous. Ambidextrous is an adjective. You'd use it to describe someone who can use their left hand and their right hand equally well. If someone can write with either hand, they'd be described as ambidextrous. You'll see this often in sports. Someone can bat right or bat left in baseball. That person is an ambidextrous batter. Being ambidextrous is incredibly rare, particularly being truly ambidextrous, where you are equally good on both sides. It's also super cool. Lots of people kind of claim to be ambidextrous. I have a hard time believing it, to be totally honest. The word's often used to describe someone who can do something in multiple different ways. Let's be clear. 99% of the time when you hear this word, they're talking about being able to do something with your left and your right hand equally well. However, it can mean that you do something in multiple ways. This meaning's rare, and it has a negative connotation to it. By connotation, I mean this is kind of the extra flavor that goes with the word. A connotation goes beyond the dictionary definition to here's another level of meaning it has. So the negative connotation on this, if someone's ambidextrous in their dealings with people, it means they can be kind of flexible in their moral code, or that they're a hypocrite, that they'll do things both ways for their own gain. This, however, is not a common meaning. The drawing there is by M.C. Escher. We talked about him during our art presentation. Escher's super cool. All right, augment. To augment is a verb. To make something larger or to increase it in some way, to add to it or to enrich it. Now, it can also be used to indicate adding emphasis to something. I want to augment this idea. I want to make this idea bigger and better so you know it more. Now, this word has started to come back into fashion because of augmented reality, which you can see on this cell phone thing here. Augmented reality is when you use a phone or goggles or glasses that are plugged into a computer of some kind, and they superimpose on top of it more stuff. They increase the amount of information seen in the picture. That's augmented reality. This is actually going to start catching on quite a bit. You think about like Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was that way a few years ago. To deploy. To deploy is a verb. It's to position or to arrange something in a particular fashion. Now, it's almost always used to indicate something which has been prepared or set up in some fashion, which is now being let go or let loose to go and do what it was prepared to do. A person can deploy a strategy in their business. Oh, we have this idea. Now we're going to deploy it and we're going to get more business for the restaurant by doing blah, 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 right? However, usually when you hear it, it's going to be about troops, about soldiers being deployed into the field. That would be soldiers going off into battle. They've already trained. They know what they're supposed to do. Now they go to do it. Now, the noun form of this would be a deployment. If you have family in the military, they might talk about how they have a deployment coming up. That means they are being let loose into the field. So there's a bunch of soldiers who are being put out onto, well, they're not being put in the field, but they're being transported to the field of battle with this group, given the timing of this photo, probably something like Afghanistan. All right, a jibe. This is a weird word. It's one you won't hear very often these days. It's a little bit antiquated. It's a little bit old-fashioned. You'd hear it in Shakespeare, things like that. A jibe is a noun. It's an insult or a demeaning phrase. If I tell a jibe, if I throw a jibe at someone, I've insulted them pretty terribly. To endure someone's jibes is to take in how much they are teasing you and making fun of you. Now, it can also be used as a verb for the act of insulting someone, but it's much more rare that that would happen. And it's not very common to use as a verb. It's usually going to be a noun. So there's a quote here from a roast. Often they have roasts on TV, particularly on Comedy Central. They used to be really popular in the 60s, 70s. Now they're kind of coming back a little bit. A roast is where everyone sits around and throws jibes at the guest of honor. This one was said by Shaquille O'Neal about Justin, Bieber. I wish I'd forgotten his name for good. He says, Justin is a father of 6. You have to straighten up, son. Last year, you were ranked the 5th most hated person of all time. Kim Jong-un didn't rank that low, and he uses your music to torture people. I doubt Shaquille O'Neal wrote that line. Most of those things are written for the actors and performers, but whoever wrote that line, pretty good. I hate Justin Bieber. I think he's the worst. Although, I do like the suit he's wearing in that picture. All right, intimation. An intimation is a noun. It's a hint or an indirect suggestion of something. It's pretty much never used in a way that's nice. If someone says you have made an intimation, they're saying, why don't you just come out and say it? You don't need to hint at things, right? Just say what you want to tell me. It has an air of being kind of a sneaky way to tell someone something. It's a little bit two-faced. Now, it can be used in a verb form, which would be to intimate, or intimated would be the past tense of it. So he intimated that maybe I'm not as good a teacher as I think I am, whatever, right? Here's the problem, though. Intimate looks exactly like the word intimate, which is to feel emotionally close to someone. If you have an intimate relationship with someone, you are emotionally close to them. That looks just like intimate. They look precisely the same. They're pronounced differently. So you need to be careful when you see these words to check the context. Looks the same, two wildly different meanings. Now you can see in the comic here, these two are each intimating something to the other, which is actually pretty insulting on both parts. They're giving each other a gift, but the gift is something that they actually want them to go do. So he's giving her a vacuum cleaner and a very stereotypical thought of who should clean the house, which is a pretty rude thing for him to do. She's giving him a rake, similarly stereotypical, that he has the job of cleaning up the yard. Maybe they should just, have a real conversation about chores around the house and maybe split up their duties and not have sneaky, passive-aggressive gifts. These people are terrible, is what I'm saying. They are clearly monsters. He's wearing bell-bottoms. I don't approve of anything going on here. All right, so opulent. Opulent is an adjective, so it's describing something. It reflects extreme wealth and complete ultimate luxury. If someone lives an opulent lifestyle, if they give someone an opulent gift, it is a very expensive gift that is over the top in some way in its use of money or how it spent money, to the point where it's wasteful. If something is opulent, it's a little bit verging on gross in its use of money. I'm a little biased in this. I tend to find opulence, that'd be the noun form of it. I find opulence to be pretty gross, but that's me. At the top, there's a Gucci backpack, the thing with the tiger on it. I was in an airport and saw a guy wearing that. It was a $2,000 backpack. I looked it up on my phone real quick, and it kind of grossed me out. I was just, you're going to put that under the airport seat, and you're going to kick it? That's weird. Hopefully you don't hear that light screaming in the background, which is my son throwing a fit for some reason. Apologies. Now, at the bottom there, that's a Bugatti. I think that's a Veyron. It's one of the fastest cars in the world. They start, like the cheapest model, somewhere around 300,000 or so, maybe more. That is an opulent thing to drive around. So, that's opulent. Reiterate. To reiterate, there's an error in this. Oh my gosh, it's actually a verb. Hopefully you are listening to this. This is not a noun. This is a verb. Oh my goodness gracious. I am a fallible person. I will fix this so that when it goes, if you see the slideshow on its own without my audio, you'll see it just says something else. But I don't feel like making the video over again. So indeed, it's a verb. To reiterate is to say something again or to repeat it in order to create emphasis. To reiterate, again, is a verb. To say again or to repeat in order to create emphasis. So as the comic here says, but surely you can agree that truth can be created by the repetition of a lie. If I reiterate something over and over, I will emphasize it until maybe people agree with me and they believe whatever I'm saying. Usually, though, you're going to hear it when people are making a point in an argument. I must reiterate, I absolutely believe English class is the most important of all classes. Things like that. Stolid. Stolid is an adjective. It's used to describe someone who's not easily moved mentally or emotionally. They're solid as a rock in their emotions, but they'd be called stolid. A stolid person may seem almost zombie-like in their unwillingness to change expression or mood. It's not a flattering thing to say about somebody. If someone is stolid, they seem stuck. They're not moving in ways that maybe they should. The more flattering version of this would be if someone is stoic. If someone is stoic, they keep a brave face no matter what. That's a far more flattering thing to say about someone. To say someone is stolid, it's not exactly an insult, but it's not exactly nice either. And when you see in the comic here, he says, what'll it be, Mrs. Waltham? Stolid workmanship or nervy brilliance? Do you want someone who's just steady, they don't get their emotions up, and they're just kind of right down the middle? Or you want someone who's kind of on the edge, but they're doing big stuff? Frankly, I prefer nervy brilliance but stolid workmanship's nothing to be ashamed of, I suppose. All right, tentative. Tentative is an adjective. It means to be uncertain or hesitant. If someone is tentative, they're not quite sure that what they're about to do is the right thing, and they're maybe pausing a bit. They're a little tentative, like, oh, should I do it? I don't know. Maybe not. That is to be tentative, all right? If you pause because you're not certain of what you're about to do, you are acting in a tentative fashion. So you can see that cat looks very tentative. Oh, I'm not sure about this. Oh, I'm not sure at all. That's my impression of that cat. That's what I imagine he sounds like. All right, unkempt. It's an adjective. It means not nicely put together. Another typo. This is very embarrassing. Not nicely put together. Messy, unorganized. Or maybe that was intentional because this is an unkempt slide. It wasn't intentional, it's just a mistake. Messy or unorganized. Oddly, people almost never use kempt as a word, but you could. If someone was kempt, they'd be well put together. Now on the left there is Nick Nolte, his infamous mugshot picture of him looking unkempt. And on the right is my ID picture from a few years ago, where I tried my best to look as crazy as I could and unkempt, which, you know what, I think I did a pretty admirable job. That's clearly a bad person there in the corner. Assertion. This is our bonus word of the week. An assertion is a noun. It's a declaration or a statement that is strongly felt. He made the assertion that his client, I'm pretending I'm an attorney, which is what's going on in this picture, that's Gregory Peck portraying Atticus Finch in the movie of To Kill a Mockingbird, one of my favorite movies and maybe my all-time favorite character of all time. He makes the assertion that Tom is innocent and there's no real evidence against his client. Now, the verb form would be to assert something. If I assert this thing, I'm saying this is true, and you need to know that I mean it. I'm asserting my assertion. You wouldn't say that. It'd become an awkward construction. All right, there it is. That's all of them. Those are the words of the week. That's everything you need to know. Hopefully this video works. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Look forward to more of them in the future. Good luck.